I've got a little small food plot here where I think I can hopefully get a crack at that 8-pointer that Drake filmed back in early August. I'm sure he's an old enough deer. He's got a big body, real massive rack. He's a cool buck. Right now, he's the #1 buck on my list.
I thought he was just a 3-year-old earlier in the trail cam pictures, but I think I might be wrong about that deer. That's not one that I have history with. Other than this year, I don't know him. He's got an awful lot of belly on him for a 3-year-old.
The primary rut is over now throughout most of the upper 2/3 of North America. It left a path of success in its wake for the Midwest Whitetail teams. October and November were our best ever. We killed a lot of really solid bucks this year. Looking back, buck activity was very strong throughout the second half of October and stayed good through the first week of November. Our production dropped off sharply after November 10th and only started to pick back up again after most of the does had been bred and the mature bucks were back on the move. November 20th through the 26th is often the very best time to catch an old buck in daylight. Combining the tail end of the rut with the transition back to food can be magic. That was the success formula for both me and Owen Riegler. I've been talking for the past several weeks about the 9-acre cornfield on my farm and how it figured into my hunting plan. I hoped that once the rut wound down, the deer would be heading to this high carbohydrate food source to fuel back up for the winter ahead. A little leftover testosterone and a lot of hunger should equal late rut opportunities. With that in mind, I headed to that cornfield on the evening of November 22nd. The hunt hasn't been too bad so far. There's about 45 minutes left, and we've seen 3 bucks so far. We've seen the same one that came out when we were here, whenever that was, 4 days ago or so. He's a real nice looking younger buck. Hopefully he survives for a couple more seasons because he's got the potential to be a good one. But it's been, a pretty interesting hunt, and there's still time enough for another one to come out for sure, especially one that maybe has a little bit more age to him. He's 1 year off. I think he's 4, but he could be 3. Sure doesn't look very big there, body-wise. Good.
No, I need like one more swallow.
Here comes the 2 buck. I'll have to get the window open somehow. Is it still good?
Yes.
He's gonna fall right there. Where's the squeegee? Good bird. I gotta put it right on. He's not falling. He's got
First we had that wide 8-pointer come in, deer that we've seen a couple of times this season, and then this 8-pointer that we called the tube buck. He came into the opening here and started working his way up toward the blind, and it got really hectic really fast because I had to open my corner window without spooking him as he was coming closer. Plus that big 8-pointer, that wide 8-pointer, was like 5 yards in front of the blind, just going right across in front. And then the front window where Drake was filming out, it was all covered with condensation. So we were trying to figure out how to squeegee that without spooking that closer buck. Well, anyway, the bottom line is I got the shot off. So it was not much control to that. We just had to kind of wing it. And the weird thing was I thought the shot was perfect. I mean, it was only 15, 20 yards away. The arrow hit, to me, looked perfect, but he didn't go down right away. He went out into the corn and laid down. So the bucks must be starting to get away from the does now, because that's 2 mature bucks. That's a 4-year-old and a 5+ in the corn tonight with no does around. So they must be finally starting to break free from the does. Well, we're going to gather up our stuff and sneak out of here, and then we'll come back and recover the steer in a couple hours.
So we're trying to figure out, I thought this was the tube buck, but the tube buck had a sticker point on his right G2, and this one doesn't. And the more we got to looking at it, the more we started thinking it's that big 8-pointer that Drake filmed back in the summer. That's the deer that I've been after the whole season. And he finally showed up, and I didn't even recognize that it was him. So 2 surprises in one season. One was the surprise buck, and the other one was shooting one that you thought was a different deer and then being surprised later to find out that it was the one that you've been after all season. Tyler's going to come out, and then we're going to run out there and grab that deer. Hopefully he's laying right where we last saw him bed down. There he is. Golly. He didn't go very far. Probably 50 yards total. Look at that. Oh, man. 2 surprises in one season. We'll definitely take it. This is the buck that Drake filmed him in early August, and we had a lot of footage from the year before in August, from summer of 2018. I figured he was 4 years old in 18 and putting him prime age for this year. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, he was the deer we wanted to get. You know, he's a 5-year-old buck, and you know, we're always trying to manage for 5-year-old and older on this farm whenever possible, and so he was the perfect candidate. Owen Riegler missed the middle of the rut as he headed to his boyhood home in Michigan to tend to some family matters. When he got back to Iowa, the bulk of the rut was past. His best late rut hunt shook out a little bit differently from mine. Owen was hunting back in the cover on the morning of November 25th, hoping to catch a buck making a final swing through the nearby doe bedding areas before calling it quits on the rut's main event for another year.
Well, hopefully you guys can hear me. I forgot my wireless this morning. Beautiful morning. It's in like the mid-30s. Right now we've got a southwest wind which is carrying back into this, well, some TSI stuff that I hinge cut, try to get them not to use it. But we're up here after that picket fence buck. He was in here a lot last year this time of year, but this year he's been, well, you can see that hillside of corn over there. He's been over there more so, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him up here at all. This is where I found his sheds, right here on this hill. So we'll see how it goes. We'll sit in here for a little while, watch the sunrise, hopefully see some deer. were sure he was gonna pick us off. Joe seen that deer moving down there in the brush, and he got into those cedars on us. And we waited a few minutes, and we weren't sure what buck it was, so I hit the horns. It was just one step at a time. He's like 8 yards right there. That's a buck we've seen a couple of times, and I have no history prior to this year, but we determined he was a mature buck that we wanted to take out of here, so yeah, finally on the board.
Hey, happy birthday.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Today's my birthday. That's a birthday buck. Yeah, sure enough. Well, my arrow's just right here. Let's grab that. And we heard him crash just down the hill, not far, so let's go take a look at him. That's the way we like to see him. Well, he's lodged under that log right there. He made a heck of a commotion. This is some of that area we TSI'd here as well. Man, has he ever rotted up. Today, let's see if we can get him moved out of here a little bit. We'll get a tag on him first and we'll drag him out of here. I definitely think he's a mature buck. Look at the old melon on him. Decent mass down on the bases. Pretty cool split G2 right there. And I don't know where this deer came from other than this year. I have no history with this buck. We just seen him the other day out of that redneck blind, and we knew it was one we wanted to target. And matter of fact, yesterday I spent all that time looking through my trail pictures trying to really put an age on him, and I didn't find a single picture that looked like it was him. But at any rate, it was definitely one we wanted to target, and on this farm especially, if I can shoot a deer that's mature, then I'm a happy camper. That's what we want to do. And these guys especially, I'm a management guy, so anytime I can take out a deer like that, I'm real happy. So, and it's my birthday today. I just had a couple of days to hunt, and a lot of you guys know that my mom's not doing well, and so it's nice I get to go back and spend some more time with her and regroup, and we'll be back hopefully for shotgun season. We'll see how it goes, but definitely a beautiful day to be out, and a beautiful buck.
After taking the old warrior, Owen still had a second buck tag in his pocket and was back in the field moving a tree stand just 2 days later. That was when he heard something that set in motion a second great adventure.
He wants to kill him. Wrap it around the tree, Joe. There you go. You got him. Now we got to get rid of the rope. Hated to put them through all that stress, but they were not going to come apart. They were going to lay there and die otherwise. So kudos to Joe. Hey, don't try that at home. That's dangerous, but I couldn't sit there and let them die like that.
Now it is time to catch up with the rest of our team. When we last left Jared Mills, he was hunting a giant 10-pointer on the fringe of a big picked cornfield. Since that last encounter, when the buck nearly came all the way into Jared's calls before picking up his scent, Jared has changed his focus back to the river farm. On November 29th, Jared's efforts were rewarded when the top buck on that property stepped from the cover.
That's Marino. Yeah, that's Marino. Alright, I'm gonna draw it.
Well, that's pretty cool. That is our first encounter with Merino since 2017. He was around the property last year, but we never encountered him. So it was awesome to see him again. We believe he's 6.5 years old, just a brute of a deer. We'll be back out after that deer, I'm sure, hopefully sometime before the Iowa shotgun season rolls in next weekend. So we've basically got a little less than a week to try to get it done. Between hunting that deer and the other deer that I've been having encounters with, hopefully I can close the deal on one of them within this next week.
Jared has another week to bow hunt this great buck before Iowa's regular firearms season opens, putting an end to all bow hunting for 16 days. Now the story moves to poor young Max Mongrello, the Georgia intern who only recently got his Iowa residency. With Josh Sparks now hunting with his friend Caleb Greiner, Max has been exploring the Iowa public land mostly alone. Unfortunately, Max learned two things very well. First, he learned how hard it is to self-film a good deer hunt without messing things up. Second, he learned how painful it is when the thing that you mess up is the biggest buck you have ever seen.
I don't think there are even words for moments like that. I mean, that's the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life. Came right to the base of the tree. Like, unbelievable. When I drew, I stopped him and drew. When I drew, I bumped the camera. So I had to look down, make sure that he was still in frame. And he was. So I let one rip. And in all that confusion, I never saw this downward hanging limb that's at 15 yards. And it hit that limb and knocked my arrow straight down under him.
Like Jared, Max isn't done yet, but unfortunately his sightings on the public land have dried up since that bad luck day when his arrow ticked a branch and missed his dream buck. As mentioned, Josh Sparks spent Thanksgiving week hunting with his friend Caleb Greiner. Unfortunately, the best opportunity of the week occurred on November 25th, when Caleb was in the tree self-filming, waiting for Josh to arrive. Caleb elected to pass the buck, but it was definitely one that Josh would have loved to shoot if he could have gotten there only a few minutes sooner. The next day, November 26th, Josh and Caleb rattled in a good buck, but at the last second he jumped a fence and came in on the other side, on a property the two didn't have permission to hunt, so they had to stand by and watch him leave. Their final encounter of the week came on the next day, November 27th, when an old buck passed out of bow range and refused to come closer when Caleb's snort wheezed at him. Finally, it is time to catch up with Mike Reed. When we last left Mike, he was reduced to a single buck tag, this one for the urban zone near his home. Despite logging a good number of hours over the past week, Mike has not seen any mature bucks. His trail camera tells him there are still a few around, so Mike will stick with this unique style of hunting until the late season arrives in the end of December and brings with it another statewide buck tag. That's it for our week. It was good by all accounts, but now things are changing. 3 things will dictate our success from now until the end of the season. First is a good food source. Second is cold weather. And third is relatively unpressured deer. You don't need all 3 of these to line up to kill a good buck, but you do need at least 2 of the 3. We still have a lot of tags, and we are staking our hopes on the best food sources we can find. That's where the deer will be, fueling up for the winter ahead. These stories and more will continue to unfold right here every week. We appreciate you joining us on this journey. We will see you right back here again next week for the next episode of Midwest Whitetail, and remember to always dream big.